Keep your eye on the ball. That's not what I meant when I said keep your eye on the ball.
Hey there, Evers Elementary School. When I was your age, I played a lot of t-ball and baseball, and I always remember my coaches calling me out and saying, keep your eye on the ball. We are moving away from our throwing part now. We did underhand throwing, overhand throwing, and we're gonna work on the catching part. When you're throwing, your eyes are on the target. When you are catching, your eyes are always looking for the ball. You never want to give up that focus with your eyes, and you use your coordination to move and catch the object. So our focus will be on catching, and we're going to be using what we call scoops. If you were here at school, we'd be using something kind of like this. It aids in catching, and there's even some sports where it would be used for throwing. So if you're thinking baseball, what you want to be thinking of is your scoop. You want to use it as if it was your baseball glove. For older grades, you may be working with the baseball glove. That may be your scoop that you use for what we're doing today. For our younger grades, one of the things I showed you earlier in the unit was to start trying to maybe have a milk jug, have a responsible adult help you cut it so that you can give it this shape and have your handle, and this would work for your scoop like your catching glove. Another sport that uses a scoop is something that you may not be familiar with, and it's called lacrosse. It's got a scoop. It's a scoop that's used for tossing and throwing. It's also used for catching an object. For your ball today, I'm going to recommend, it depends on your scoop. If you're older and you're using a baseball glove, then you're probably going to want to use a baseball, something with some weight and something that lands in there. If you are younger and you're using the milk jug scoop, or some other scoop around your house, then a tennis ball might be your best option. The tennis ball bounces and it lands in there pretty well. You're gonna find with the baseball glove for older grades, if you try and use a tennis ball, it's really hard to catch. It wants to not land in there with enough force, and it's gonna get really frustrational. So make your equipment match what you're using. Tennis ball works well with this kind of a scoop, or if you're using a coffee can, perhaps, that was another good scoop, or the Bill Miller's Texas Tea Bucket makes a great scoop as well. You don't want anything glass or ceramic or even metal, because metal can bend. If you're using a Yeti cup, you might end up destroying it. You want it to be something plastic that you're using, or like a coffee can, something you don't worry about getting beat up a little bit. For today's skills, we are going to be doing a lot of press, pause, and play, where I'll give you some time, I'll demonstrate something, and then you're going to pause your video and you're going to play that. First things first, we've been talking a lot about our dominant hand and our non-dominant hand. We throw with our dominant hand, and in a sport like baseball, we use our non-dominant hand to catch. Your glove goes on the hand that you are not throwing with. All right, so our activities right now, we're going to work with just some coordination between our hands, crossing our midline and catching. So I've got my ball. I'm down kind of low to the ground for the beginning because I want to focus on controlling that throw and landing it in my scoop. Throw and catch with your scoop. Older grades, you might be using your glove or your glove for this and your baseball. And your scoop, like I said, can be a lot of different things. I've got my Texas Tea Bucket right here, and I'm going to try and toss and catch inside. If you find that your object is too small, the opening for your ball, you can use a smaller ball, or you can use a larger scoop to be more successful. So from a low level, work on tossing and catching with your scoop and ball. Press pause and play. Next one, scoop is still in my non-dominant hand. My dominant hand will be tossing. So stand up on your feet. We're gonna try and get a little bit more height. It's gonna go up over my head, toss and catch with your scoop. Toss and catch. Keep your eyes following the ball the whole time, from the time it leaves your hand to the time you received it in your scoop. Eyes are on the ball. Press pause and play. Next, we are going to work on bounce and catch with your scoop. So the ball, instead of going up, I'm going to bounce it on the floor and catch it after one bounce. Bounce, catch. Bounce, catch. Press pause and play. Now we're going to test your ability to be able to keep your eyes on the ball while you are moving. So I'm going to toss the ball, I'm going to turn around, and then I'm going to attempt to catch it in my scoop. So toss, turn around, and catch. Toss, turn around, and catch. This one's a challenge. It might take you a while. It's okay if you press pause and you play for longer, even 3 to 5 minutes for this skill. Try and keep your eyes on the ball as you're moving, as you're turning around to try and catch it. Press pause and play. Now we are going to focus on having the ball come from the wall down low along the ground, and we're going to field or try and scoop the ball up off the ground after it comes back to us. So I'm going to find a wall, something that won't get damaged in the house, something that's a safe from other things, and I'm going to do my bowling and rolling that we learned before, step and roll. I'm going to roll the ball at the wall, and when it comes rolling back, I'm going to try and scoop it up using my scoop hand. So I'm going to bowl roll, and as it comes back, I'm going to try and field the ball up off the ground. You can get further for our older grades. You may be using a stronger bowl and roll for it to come back to you. Our younger grades, you can get pretty close and you can do a slow one from now. Bowl roll and try and scoop, field the ball up when it comes back. Press pause and play. If you have a high wall at your house that doesn't have any windows, usually those people with 2-story houses and there's no windows, you can do this next one. If you don't, you can practice just tossing up higher in the air when it comes back. So what I'm going to do is I am going to toss or throw up at the wall. It's going to bounce high off the wall and it's going to come back to me and I'm going to try and scoop it up. Notice how now I am moving my feet and I am moving my hands, but my eyes are still on the ball. Your whole body is coordinating to be able to catch this object using your scoop. So you move your body with your feet, you move your hand and your arm a little bit to get in position to catch it as it comes back. Press pause and play. Now we are going to switch to some activities that are similar to lacrosse, where your scoop, this one's got a long handle, but your scoop is actually used to both toss and catch. So I'm holding my scoop and I am tossing and catching. So similar to lacrosse, I'm using the scoop in my dominant hand now because it's going to be for tossing and for catching. So I'm going to try with my scoop, scooping it up in the air and catching it back. Scooping it up and catching it. Scooping it up and catching it. Again, notice how my feet are moving. That's okay. I am moving towards the ball. My eyes stay on the ball and the rest of my body works together with my eyes to catch. Press pause and play. And now I'm going to put the floor into it. So it's going to be scoop to release, let it bounce, and scoop to catch. Scoop, release, bounce, scoop to receive it. Again, up in the air, bounce, and catch. Press pause and play. Now I've got my ball in my scoop and I'm going to try and add my high wall. If you don't have a high wall, don't worry about it. Just scoop it up higher into the air and catch on the return. But it's always great if you can try and bounce it off of a wall and return. Again, I'm going to bounce it high and return. Press pause and play. As you are working on your catching, you are noticing that your fingers and your hand do different things. If it is an overhand catch, if it's above your shoulder, you're finding that your fingers are pointing up. Even if they're holding your scoop, they're up to catch. And that's going to be what we're going to get used to feeling. The muscle memory is that you get used to your fingers being up. As the object comes low, you're finding that your fingers point down or point out to scoop up your object. So try and get that feel for your fingers. Once you get that muscle memory built, catching is going to be a lot easier for you. Now it's your time. Let's see what we can come up with. You can use your scoop, you can use your ball. You can work baseball style, where you have your scoop in your non-dominant and your ball in your dominant. You can do lacrosse style, where you've got your scoop and ball together in your dominant hand. Let's see what you can come up with. Let's have some fun and get a little bit silly with it for things kind of like this. Under your leg, around your back, your time. Use some time to work on the skills you want to. It's all hand-eye coordination to be able to catch and keeping your eye on the ball. Have a great day, and I will see you around.